group that let me get a quick temperature check. Yes, that is, I don't want to sort of spend time about features of Gradescope or things that you guys already know. So if you don't mind, if you could kind of, so I told Julie that I would talk about Gradescope with about as old school a perspective on grading and ungrading, to be honest, as I can, because that's where I come from. I don't like modern technology. I use modern technology all the time, but I don't think it actually works in many instances to make our academic, teaching, pedagogical lives better. It makes it often easier and more convenient and more mechanical, but not necessarily better. So I, just to get a sense, are you guys using Gradescope? Do you sort of, should I start from scratch? I mean, I have a little video that silent movie that I made of the workflow. I'm going to chop it up so that I'm just going to talk about maybe the beginning, a little bit in the middle, so that I can highlight some things. I'm happy to okay, good, excellent, yes, perfect, stuff in it, okay, good. All right, so good, this is, thank you. So I'm going to start with a video that I've kept silent because I've used it to talk through at different levels, depending on kind of, you know, where people are. So it's the same video, but it's not, I voice over differently. I will start, I know we have not that much time, so I'm going to kind of chop and move on. But the idea is the following, yes? So it's important to understand the philosophy done by a bunch of kids, literally, at Berkeley, who were getting tired of getting really badly graded by their TAs in intro bio and intro whatever classes, intro English, intro everything. Why graded badly? Well, because the rubric changes depending on who your TA is, or if it happened to be, you know, Friday evening or a Monday morning. And you and I know, I've done this. My grading in my classes, I've stayed away from multiple choice, even when I've taught 100, 150 students. I do some because I don't have a choice humanly, but my old school way was they take exams on paper. I bring the huge bundle home all weekend in the living room floor. Okay, now here's the part they don't know. The TV's on, my soccer games are going. Sometimes I'm more distracted, other times I'm less distracted. You know what I'm talking about. And it takes me all weekend. And it was and many of my colleagues just won't do that, but that's always been my style. That's what I've done. In that context, I knew, and sometimes irritatingly so, that I forgot how many points I took off for a particular kind of mistake that I'm now seeing for the 6th time or the 8th time, and I just cannot remember. So then I go back and dig through, right? In that really rudimentary way of thinking about grading, Gradescope has changed my life. What used to take me all weekend now takes me less than 2 hours. What used to have lots of errors, human errors, judgment calls, stuff I forgot that I know I made because I'm grading 100 exams, 2 versions, so that's the other part of it, that now I know I'm making none because Gradescope keeps me on track. Obviously, part of the reason it's gone from all weekend to only 2 hours is because, or less in fact, is because some of the Gradescope's artificial intelligence features you can use as you get better. But I want to start with, I'm going to show you an example of really a box, write something in the box. I'm going to use my computer to read what's in that box one at a time. I'm going to grade that problem one at a time, but even that is faster than doing it by hand with a pen. Okay, that's the message I want you to take out of this, and then we can talk about both directions. There's lots of automated stuff. I also used to give I now give my multiple choice when I was on campus in Gradescope. I know you can do Scantrons, but the thought of going to the Thomas Hunter building and watching that machine fail 50 times, right? And kind of, praying that it doesn't jam, that was enough for me to actually see an advantage with Gradescope. I have that in my video. I'm not going to spend much time on it because, that's sort of not the focus, but I'm happy to talk about that anytime. Okay, let me share my screen. Let's get the video going. And like I said, I'm going to talk, so feel free to throw stuff in the chat. Feel free to stop me, just speak out, right? There's no need to kind of stay muted here. Okay, so in the workflow, you start with Gradescope, you have an account, you're going to set up, you see this, so this is pre-pandemic days, the video, so I haven't updated it, fall 19, when life was good. I taught Eco 100 with 130 students in that class, and that's what I'm going to show you. This is my graduate class, which is much more like an English class might be, a language class might be, where you want them to write a paragraph, where you want them to kind of essentially, right? So with much less structure than you'll see in my Eco 100 class. And I'm using it again with almost no structure. So why? That's what I call kind of the old school way of doing things. Okay, so let me just, I'm going to start rolling so you can sort of see. I'm going to create a new course. I'm going to, okay, remember something from my computer. So that's just a fake name, and you put in some stuff and you create the course. And we can talk later about this sort of lack of integration with Blackboard that has come up more often. But essentially, you create assignments, you do things, if you have a file that has the roster, then you just add it. It's simple. I'm going to let this go. I'm happy to talk about this, just putting stuff together. It's easy, it's not hard, but it's not the focus of today. So I'm going to move to minute 5:30, okay? That's my exam. I'm telling it what I want it to see. That's a little bit of work in this kind of structure, but let's go to 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, so now you'll see that I have scanned my paper exams, version blue and version pink. Blue is bad, there's a separate reason. Blue, kind of the contrast was not great. So I learned my lesson after doing that blue color, but I would give always 100 students. So I'd give two versions, a blue version and a pink version, and I'd go, blue, pink, to kind of get them to not kind of cheat. But once they're scanned in, Gradescope says, I think you should have 6 pages per exam because you already uploaded a template of your exam. So it compares to the template. If your photocopy or if your scanner missed a page or something like that, Gradescope will recognize that and say, what do you want to do about this one? I only see 5 pages here. It looks like it's out of place. It is amazing how it sort of knows.
Partha, hi, this is Kelle.
Hey, Kelle.
I just wanted to, so I feel like you skipped from, you uploaded your template, and then now these are the submissions that the students submitted.
Right. Yeah, so I'm jumping because I don't want to actually spend, sorry, Kelle, I said I'm not going to spend much time on this pre-part, even though everybody's a rookie and is going to be asking here.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that now you're not talking about a feedback to the professor, you're talking about feedback to the students when they're uploading their exams.
No, so this is actually, they do their exams on paper. I take it back to the department, use our printer scanner to scan and upload.
Got it. I used mine post-pandemic, so my students uploaded their own.
That's right. So students can upload their own assignments. I do that with homework, but this was an exam, old school, in the classroom, paper and pencil. Then I take that and I upload it, and then it helps me. But that's a very good distinction, and both are doable and easy, and obviously have some differences. But what I wanted to show you was just a hint at Gradescope's kind of one feature here, and then I will move on to the sort of substantive one question. Okay, so now you go. So once you say, yes, that looks good, it's going to read the name area of the exam where I made them write their names by hand. And it's going to, oops, let me just back it up just a bit. And it's going to say, all right, I think I can figure out, because I can read handwriting. I recognize this student's name. I recognize this student's name. I recognize this student's name, all from the student's handwriting. Okay. I could not recognize this student's name. Well, you can see this student's does not A, write well, B, it's very faint, C, like I said, I learned that the blue paper was a bad, my fault. D, if you ask them to put their EMPL ID, then that helps, because that's a number that's often easier for the machine to read and interpret than people's handwriting. But it is amazingly good, right? That in a class of 120, Gradescope with all of the foibles picked up at the time, 85%, 90% of student names from these handwritten assignments, just by telling Gradescope, here's where you expect the name to be on the exam. Roughly on a page, here's where you should find it. That's all. You do have to do that. You can't say it's somewhere. You have to say, here's where it is, right? So, and that's how it works. Okay, so that, I just wanted to show you that. And now I'll kind of move to the example that I want to show you. I'm not focusing on the multiple choice stuff that actually is, grouped, graded, is super fast. It's as good as scanning and using a Scantron. There are advantages, actually. It allows, actually, the one thing let me see if I can find one example here. I'll move quickly. So it's processing the answers. Here's the answers. It says, I found a bunch of this kind of answer, a bunch of this kind of answer, a bunch of this kind of answer, right? And I'll show you that if I can find the one where, this is good. So here's somebody who didn't understand the instructions, who circled, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. It's my video is moving, stop. Yeah, who circled the letter, who did not bubble in the bubble sheet. So with a Scantron test, that's a 0 for that student. Here, Gradescope says, this one looks like the odd man out. What do you want to do with it? And maybe there are 5 of these. So I just then literally say, this is an A. So I'm just going to drag it and call it this one. Right? And then when I tell Gradescope that A is the correct answer, this one will be graded as the correct answer. Now, you may have your feelings about whether or not they should know how to bubble in, but my general philosophy is, okay, that's a stupid mistake. I don't want to penalize you for that kind of mistake, right? So you have the option. You can say, no, this is the wrong answer, and Gradescope will let you do that, but it points it out. So it is incredibly sort of flexible in that sense. So that's the multiple choice. But let me show you, going back to kind of old school minute. Where do I want to be? 9:05. All right. So now I'm going to start with a question that is not quite an essay. In this econ class, they have to complete a diagram, and then they have to write the answers, the conclusions from that diagram. But it's essentially graded one at a time. Yes, I'm looking for some keywords. I'm looking at the picture. So one at a time, I'm going to grade this. So I'm going to let this video run just for 30 seconds or so. Here's that question. I click on it. I've not graded any of it. I'm now grading it individually. It shows me, here's what it looks like. It's quickly going through and says, here's what you're seeing in the 100, in this case, 12 or 17 exams, but I had 100 of these. And it very quickly goes through and says, this is, okay, so let's start grading, right? So here's the first one. This is the box. This box you see is something that was created when I told Gradescope in my template that this is where you should expect the answer to this question. This box is roughly where you should see it. So that's why this green box that you see it's recognized, it's now looking at stuff in there. It helps you focus on the page, right? So for me, grading manually, I have to find it. Gradescope has found it for me on page 4 of my 6-page exam, right? And so now, literally, I'm going to now start grading. I'm going to set up rubrics. And in fact, I remember, gee, I asked the same kind of question the last time around I gave this exam. Yes, I assume that's what you guys do too. So because I already have a rubric, I'm not going to add a rubric item. I'm going to find it from the last time I gave this exam. Because every exam that I've graded on Gradescope, it remembers every rubric. So I'm going to go find my old course in fall of 2019. I gave an exam. There it is. I have to look. I have to remember which question it was. And I'm going to find that. I'm going to click on it. And here's basically my grading rubric for that. And I say import it. And now I have this rubric for this question. Okay, so now I'm going to start literally one by one. I'm going to start grading, but just to give you a sense of why this works so fast. Now I stare at this picture. I use my number pad to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever numbers, right? If the labels were wrong or incorrect, I hit 2. If that was wrong and the shift was incorrect, I hit 3 as well. And when I am done, I use my keypad to just hit the forward arrow. I'm to the next ungraded exam, right? So that's the workflow that allows me, A, to keep track of my rubric, to not forget how many points I took off, which has always been an issue, and to very quickly move. And by the way, so it turns out I messed up. If you count this up, that's not 10 points, that's 5 points. So, okay, Gradescope is incredibly forgiving. I'm just going to go and change that. That's all you have to do, right? You go back, you edit the outline, okay? You change it to 5 points. You say, oh, that's not a 10-point question. That's a 5-point question. You save the outline. You go back to grading submissions again. It'll take you back right there, right? Click on it again, and off we are ready to go. Every mistake you make like that, it just goes back and brings you right back where you need to be. So it just sort of remembers a whole bunch of stuff like a human being actually might. So now I'm grading one by one, right? That's it. This person did correct answer. That's it. That's how quick that was, right? Because it was correct. So obviously, as always, correct answers are easier to grade, right? So this one, let's see what I said. Well, the shifts are incorrect. Okay, the explanation is missing. The equilibrium is incorrect. Next, ungraded. I've done it with my mouse here because you can see that. But in fact, the reality is I end up using my keyboard to advance even faster. All right. Now, I'm going to show you a colleague of mine who is better about this. He was teaching an intermediate level class where, in fact, it's not just take points off and here's the rubric. You want to give your student feedback. What did they do well? What did they do badly? Why are you taking points off? What should they have written? So anyway, you see what's going on here. This is how it is. And like I said, that's why I've been saving so much time on my grading. Okay. But let me now go to 12 minutes and 20 seconds here. There you go. Okay. Let's just stop that for a second. So this is now much more handwritten, right? It's literally a short answer, 3 or 4 sentences required by the student. Okay, so to the extent that this, and it could be anything, this is being read one at a time, like you might in a blue book, like you might if you were kind of really grading by hand. Yes, there is a rubric for the scores again that my colleague has set up, but that you've already seen. What I want to show you now is this part. So he's reading it. He says, okay, this is correct, but I still want to leave a comment. I want to give some feedback. So you see there's some feedback, and or there's no feedback yet. This is your first exam. You type it out. But in fact, over time, you collect feedback because you see the same problems, right? All of you must see, quote, the same recurring problems, whatever that is. So the minute you've typed in your comment, it saves it. The next time you want to say roughly the same thing, you just go and you click on that one. You don't have to write it again. It's there for you to reuse. It is there for you to bring in and edit on the margin, right? So edit and say, it's a little bit different than the last time. So let me, there you go, right? I'm just kind of augmenting the comment that I already had prepared. I don't need, so here's another student, okay, minor missing elements, what's missing? Well, that's not the right comment, but here, wait, I don't follow, you wrote something, or maybe not that one. Okay, that's the one, right? So whatever it is, and then you can go to the next one. So in fact, you can give pretty good feedback on each question, and to the extent that you give consistent feedback because it's there for you and you can modify it, it's going to sort of save you time. It's going to make your grading more equitable, better, because you as a human being are going to make less mistakes because you remember, your Gradescope remembers for you what you did not type in. So one last thing that I'm not going to say much about, but it's there. For some of you, this might be all page. Now I don't want to just give a generic comment over here. I might want to annotate this document, right? I might want to say, this is a sentence fragment. So in fact, there is a tool that allows you to highlight, to put text comments right in the spot where you think it should appear in exactly the same way. In this particular short answer, it's probably not worth the effort, but even it might be, right? If you want to say this is incorrect grammar or capitalize or punctuation, then all of those things. And by the way, if punctuation is a very common problem, then the first time you type it in, it will be available for you to retrieve very quickly. You don't have to type that word or phrase again. It's right there and you've got it to go. So I'll stop here. I think at this point, maybe